Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
We are recording Friday, January 17th, 2024. Dad, how are we doing today?
Pretty good. Shout out, happy birthday to Mary, my daughter. She had a birthday today, so happy birthday.
How old did you turn? 32?
I don't want to say
it. Sorry, whoops. Happy birthday to you, Mary. Hope you're having a great day. Episode will be coming out later tonight, so you'll be able to watch this on your birthday, hopefully. But obviously, we're recording this before the Eagles take on the Rams. Rematch of, I believe, was Week 12 when we last played them.
Yes.
Nice little rematch, again, similar to us rematching with the Packers last week. I wonder how often that happens. I don't know how many times you play, the most times you replay a team in the playoffs.
It's funny because there's been other teams that have been replayed too.
Oh, big time! Yeah, no, big time. The Lions and Commanders didn't play each other this year, did they?
No, they did not.
No, I didn't think so. But no, it's funny. We played the Packers, the Vikings, and Rams had played each other. The
Ravens, Steelers,
the Ravens, Steelers, of course, that makes sense.
Bills. Ravens.
Yeah, Bills, Ravens will play each other. Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of repeats this year. The Chiefs and Texans, even. I mean, it's right. Entire playoffs. It feels like it doesn't feel like it happens as much. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm just noticing it.
It really doesn't.
It doesn't feel like it happens as often as this, but yeah. So we're really excited. We got the second game for the second postseason game for the Eagles this season, going into the divisional round. Which I hate that it's called the divisional round because there's nothing divisional about it. They need to figure something out about it. But going to be playing the Rams, who had just gotten a victory over the Vikings. Huge victory, destroyed them 27-9. So this is going to be a big game. We're going to be at Rhinos. We hope to all see you there. Rhino Sports and Spirits with the Eagles fan club at Colorado Springs. It's going to be a little snowy this week in Colorado Springs. It's going to be pretty cold. So bundle up if you're going to go to the bar and make sure you can get there safe before you try to get there at all.
There you go.
All right. So Eagles going to be playing the Rams in Philly, get another home game here in the playoffs because we've got that 2 seed. Sunday, for us, it's 2:30. Back home, it's going to be a 4:30 Eastern time.
No, 3 o'clock game back east. 1 o'clock.
I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. That's
that's the normal situation.
You're right. Yep. It's the one. Yep.
It's going to be a 1 o'clock game in the Springs. It's going to be 3 o'clock back east.
There we go. Yeah, 1 o'clock here. That's true. I'm sorry. Yeah, Saturday's 2:30.
Yes.
I'm thinking.
Funny how they mix it all up, but that's okay.
But yeah, 1 o'clock for us, 3 o'clock back east. Dad, you got a weather report. It's going to be cold there, too.
Yeah, it's going to be really bad in there, Philly. You're just going to have to leave for the game early. They're calling for low 30s to start the game, 3 to 5 inches of snow. So it'll already be snowing in the morning because it's coming in the afternoon, the night before in the morning. So it's going to be pretty brutal. And it's supposed to be 5 to 15 mile an hour winds. So it's really going to be a tough game for the offenses, I think, and it's even going to be tougher for the guys from Los Angeles.
Yes, we hope so. That's kind of the big thing that we have going into this game. I think we have an advantage really at almost all positions on the field. But I would say the advantage definitely comes with the weather. They're used to playing in the dome. Last year it felt like we played every single game in the rain or snow. If you remember that season. I think this team is tested in the weather and it's proven in the weather and everything. So hopefully that leads to a big advantage for us. But before we talk about our game, let's talk a little bit about the Rams and Vikings game. I know you watched it. We watched it on Monday night. We were kind of recording during the game a little bit, so we weren't getting we weren't seeing all of it, but rewatched some highlights, everything like that. And man, the Rams really destroyed them.
The clock ran out for Sam Darnold. He turned back into a pumpkin, unfortunately. We've been saying that all season. You and I were kind of surprised how well he played. And, he kept saying, well, he's got a better team now that he's not playing for the Jets or anything like that. But, he just looked really bad in that game. I don't know what happened. He was seeing ghosts. He was holding on to the ball longer than most quarterbacks I've watched in the past couple of years. So it was just bad. It was a really bad situation. And, they sacked the living daylights out of him. He was fumbling. It was throwing picks. It was awful.
40 pass attempts, 25 completions, sacked 9 times. So 49 dropbacks to be sacked 9 times and probably even dropped back more and took off running on 1 or 2 of them, But, only 1 passing touchdown and then the interception, of course. And, they really struggled to get it going. Their defense struggled to get off the field. The Rams just really dominated. The first quarter ended, Rams were up 10-0, and you're like, okay, wow, we'll see.
Unexpected, I think,
Then Minnesota scored 3, and you're like, okay, it's 10-3, and now it's going to kind of even out. Nope. They scored that 3 to make it 10-3, and that's when the floodgates open.
Yeah, it's funny because the Rams' offense really did not do a whole bunch in that game.
It's true.
It was mostly the defense was just wrecking them up. I think one time they scored when they took over at the 40-yard line, so they only had to go 40 yards, and then they had a touchdown on a fumble. It was bad.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, you're right. It definitely was more of a defensive effort by the Rams because
the defense won it more than the offense.
For sure. Well, the Rams only had 292 total yards. How many times do you see a team have 27 points with 292 total yards? That's it. You know, like you would think there'd just be so much more, a lot more domination. And they also struggled on third down. The Rams, they went 2 of 10, which is funny because against us they went 0 of 8. And you would think if you saw 27 points, you'd be, oh man, they must have just
50%.
Yeah, they'd be dominant. But they only had 16 first downs. They were 2 of 10 on third down. Didn't face any fourth downs. Only ran the ball for 90 yards and only passed the ball for 202. So really not an unbelievable game by the offense. It was really more so a dominating game by the Rams defense.
Yeah, they just said, let's give it back to them. You know, that's when you don't take any risks. You don't start throwing into coverage. You say, hey, our defense is destroying them, kind of like we did against the Pack last week. You know, we didn't say, let's take a gamble. Let's just play a ball, punt the ball, keep them in their zone, and, you know, keep our defense on the field kicking their butt. And that's exactly what they did. And they, you know, it's funny to see that we did not expect that because all year Minnesota had a pretty good offense. So it's really strange, but that's what happens in playoff football.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as long as you have Justin Jefferson on a team, you have a pretty good offense.
Exactly.
Rams offense, like we said, you know, leading receiver only had 58 yards. Stafford only threw for 209. He was sacked twice, threw 2 touchdowns, but Kyron Williams, he only rushed for 76 yards. So there was no real, domination on scrimmage or any standout stats that make you go, wow. Nakua, 5 catches, 44 yards, and Cooper Kupp, 1 catch, 29 yards. I mean, it was just a pretty well-involved game. Nothing really exploded out at you. And they just the defense dominated the game, and the offense did what they had to do. You know?
9 sacks. I mean,
that's just a whole different thing.
They probably lost 70 to 80 yards in sacks.
I think it was an NFL postseason record.
I think it tied. I think that's what tied. Yeah, I think it tied it.
Yeah, total of 82 yards, 82 sack yards. That's insane. On 9 sacks, that's 9 yards a sack. I mean, that's insane.
That is.
I mean, you'd think when you get sacked, it's a loss of 5 or 6. Sometimes if he steps up in the pocket for 3 or 4, man, 9 yards. He was running backwards all day, but
he was getting plowed all day too.
Yeah. A lot of this game is going to lead into the Eagles and Rams. So obviously the Eagles got a good win over the Packers last week. I hesitate to even say good win. It was tough at times, and we had a fight, but man, that defense was just playing phenomenal. But let's get into the matchups on the offense first. So number one matchup for our offense is going to be the offensive line against their defensive line. Pardon me, sorry. The Rams don't have any, big time playmaker on the defensive line. They don't have any unbelievable sack. This guy's got 15 or 17 or a Trey Hendrickson or a Myles Garrett or anything like that.
Right.
No, it's just a bunch of really solid players up front. The 2 rookies, of course, Verse and Fifth, have both had very good seasons.
Definitely.
Verse probably going to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year, we would expect. And Fisk, I think, got some votes for Pro Bowl. Same with Verse. So I think both of them, they've had some really good seasons. And that whole defensive line, they're a bunch of young guys, first and second round picks, stuff like that.
Right.
Really good defensive line. Reminds me a lot of the Commanders when they were the Redskins, of course. 4 or 5 years ago, they had that defensive line that was all first round.
Right.
Like, man, they're just all really good. You know what I mean? That's what it reminded me of.
Definitely. Yeah, it's funny how, when you hit on the draft, you don't have to hit on all of them. You just got to hit on some of them. And apparently the Rams have been hitting on their defensive linemen because they picked 2 guys really good this year.
Yeah.
And, their defense is a good defense. They're more of a rushing defense, though, I think. They're not really good at stopping the run. So
yeah, they're not.
We've learned that already when we played them earlier, and hopefully we can continue that. And the fact that we're playing in the snow, if it does indeed snow, it's a little bit easier when you know which way you're going in the snow. So if you can do some misdirection runs, some great blocking like we have, we should be able to run on them just like we did last time for 300-plus yards.
Yeah.
So we get close to that, I think we'll be in good shape.
Yeah. Next thing I was going to point out, the rushing yards, the rushing defense is really not great. They're 22nd in the league with 130. So this is a team you should be able to run against pretty well. But what do I always say? When you expect something to happen,
expect the unexpected. That's
exactly.
right.
The Vikings, I think they ended up rushing for over 100 yards on the day, so they were able to get over to 100. Rams usually allow 130. I'm sure a lot of that is skewed because of our game where we got 340 rushing yards. I don't know, somewhere
305,
something like that. Yeah.
Barkley had 255 in that game.
Yep. Great game. I mean, it was a good game, but great game for Saquon. Yeah, no, it's definitely a team that we're going to have to run against. But the problem is their defensive backs. Their defensive backs have gotten better. They struggled throughout the season early as a passing defense. They weren't incredible. They're still not great against the pass. They're 20th, but I feel like that's gone up a little bit in the past few weeks. Ever since us, they haven't lost the game. They really turned it around and everything. And they got Darius Williams, Cameron Curl, Cameron Kitchens, and Lake is a good nickelback as well. Other injuries coming along the backside there with Witherspoon and I think they still have Forbes over there. I don't know if he's hurt or not.
Played well late.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so they definitely have a much better defensive back group. So overall, I think this defense, they've gotten better as the season goes on. Like I said, they're 27th in yards per game defense allowed, so that's not great. But it feels like that number has kind of probably gotten better over the past few weeks.
Right. Well, they looked good last week.
Yep, that's right. Let's talk about the defensive matchup. So for our defense, number one thing, their wide receivers are phenomenal. Obviously, they got Cooper Kupp, who, you could make the argument he's not as elite as he used to be. He's been injured a little bit this year, but so is Puka Nacua, who you can't make the argument that he's not elite because he is. Yeah. He's one of the better wide receivers in the NFL, and he's only a second-year guy. It's unbelievable. 990 yards, and I think he really hasn't even played that many games this year. He missed like 4 or 5, I think, along the way. Yeah. Only played 11 games, still got 990 yards.
Yeah, he's good.
So 90 yards a game, only 3 touchdowns, but this guy can beat you, and he can really hurt your team.
Yeah, he's really the one you got to concentrate on. I think Cooper Kupp is playing okay, but I think he's lost a step. I don't think he's as good as he used to be, but, we never want to, give up on a player. But you definitely want to keep Nacua close to the vest. You got to cover him tight at the line like we did last time we played him, and don't let Stafford look over there and just be able to throw those out passes, which drive us nuts. Do some tight coverage, maybe do a pick six on him, and just continue to play him like you did last time. The minute he catches it, you put him on the ground because he is definitely a tackle breaker. He definitely knows how to get out of tackles, so you got to keep him close, hold him up, let the other guys come in and get on him. Get a hand on him and hold him.
Definitely. Next matchup I have set is for Vic Fangio against Stafford and McVay. Really, this whole defense against those two, but really Vic Fangio versus Stafford and McVay. Stafford and McVay going into the postseason, really probably one of the best head coach quarterback tandems in the league. If you looked at the final list of quarterback coach duos, they've got to be number 2 or 3. They're definitely up there. And they're just really good, and Vic's going to have to put together a really good game plan. He did a great one against Green Bay last week, and he's going to have to do it again to limit the damage from these guys.
The first time we played the Rams, we did the same thing. It's funny, though. Don't get too excited early on because last time we played them in that first quarter, they were playing a little bit a cush on the defense. They were playing a little bit back, letting them get those short, quick passes. But then by the time the second and third quarter turned around, they were no longer happening. The minute they threw that ball outside, Cooper, Najee, and a few of the guys were just in there making tackles.
Definitely. In my last matchup, I didn't really choose a specific player because it could be either one, but I'm choosing the Nakobe Dean spot. That Mike linebacker spot. Oren Burks and Jeremiah Trotter are both expected to get some time. We don't know who's going to really get the most time. We don't know who's going to be officially the listed starter. But we do. That's going to be the biggest matchup really on the defensive side because it's that guy that we need him to step up and make some big plays. And if they don't, this is a team that can run. They got Kyron Williams, almost 1,300 yards in the season and 14 touchdowns. And they've got a great quarterback who, if you give him time, can pick you apart.
Yeah, we're going to need those linebackers to step up and fill those gaps. Put him down with one tackle. Don't let him get any rushing like he did when we played him before. He had some pretty good runs early on again in that game. Yeah. But I think it's time for Trot to get out there. He's the guy I'm pulling for. Burks is good player. But I think Trot is the guy that I'd like to see get in there and play a little bit more. Maybe if they split time 60-40 or something. I think Trotter's ready to play. We saw him play in some of the other games towards the end of the season. He was making some good plays in the ran game. He actually had that tip pass on the 2-point conversion. At least he was in coverage. Yep. But I just liked what he did in college, and I think it's time for him to go. They've given him some playing time. He's not a green rookie out there now. He's got some playing time under his belt. True. And I think he's ready to go. I hope I'm correct, but I'd love to see him be one of the guys who makes him play. Maybe get a pick six, just like his dad did years ago.
I agree with you there. Yep. Dad, who do you have as your player to watch going into this game?
Well, I've been pulling for Milton Williams this whole season. It's going to bum me out when he gets signed in the offseason and goes to another team because I've been pulling for him the whole season. He played fantastic last week. Just his rush, and I know he was playing against a couple backups, but still, just his coming off the ball, the fact that Carter's being doubled doesn't stop him. He was in on that one play near the goal line, almost got a sack on Love, and I thought he was just doing a great job last week, and I'm just going to keep my eyes on him again. Hopefully he can maybe garner a little more attention so that Carter maybe get a single coverage so he can bust in there and make some plays. But those two are going to be needed, him and Davis, of course, but the three of them are going to need to be stopping that middle run. We stopped that middle run. I believe the Rams run a rookie center out there, so hopefully they've got some things up their sleeve. I like how I saw the Eagles kind of do a little bit of a defensive shift a few times in the last few weeks, kind of like pre-snap, and it kind of, I don't know, I just like that. I just think that gives you an advantage to maybe if they've got especially when they have the two guys that already know they're going to double Carter, and if he shifts to the right or left, now that changes everything, and all of a sudden you got Nolan Smith coming in unblocked, which happened on that one sack early in the game.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Carter Williams is going to be a big deal in this game. This is not an incredible offensive line. They're good. They're not the best, but they're pretty good. Hopefully we can really get to them. Do you remember how many times we sacked Stafford when we played him last time?
Not many.
I'm thinking maybe only once or twice.
I was going to say once or twice because we're just not – we haven't had really any big games.
We sacked him 5 times. We sacked him 5 times that game. Kobe Dean had 1. Milton Williams had 2. So there's your Milton Williams.
Okay.
Brandon Graham, of course, had 1.
That's it. We should have known because Graham was amazing in that game. That's the game he got injured, but he was playing out of his mind in that game.
He was.
Yeah, that's when it opened both of our eyes. Like, my God, he's playing out of his mind out here. He's in 15-year pro, and he was playing unbelievably. But it was kind of a bummer. But yeah, so Milton Williams had 2 in that game. So he's my guy.
There you go.
There you go.
Mine's going to be on the other side of the line of scrimmage, a guy who didn't play well the last time we played the Rams because he didn't play at all. I'm choosing an offensive player. I'm choosing Devontae Smith as my player to watch. Big thing going around, obviously everyone probably knows, Devontae Smith is only 6 yards away from breaking the all-time Eagles postseason receiving yards record. He's 5 yards behind Harold Carmichael right now at 460. Carmichael had 465. So we need 6 more yards to get 466, and he'll be the all-time Eagles postseason receiving yards leader, which is really awesome. He did it. He would have done it in the same amount of games. He'll play his 7th postseason game. That's how many Carmichael played. The sad thing to see is right beneath him is Todd Pinkson with 433. That took him 12 games. So Devontae's averaging 76 yards per game in the postseason. I noticed something else. I'm jumping a little bit off track, but a similar thing. Alshon Jeffrey, 72.8 yards per game in his postseason career with us. That's awesome, man. That's huge. And Zach Ertz.
How many games? 4?
Let's see, 5. 5.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense. The 3 the Super Bowl year. So you had the Falcons, the Vikings, and then the Super Bowl. So those 3, and then in the next year, 2018. The Bears game, and then the Saints game. Yep. So those are only 2 postseason appearances with us. It's funny. He felt like he was with us for 10 years. But
yeah, well, he was fantastic in that first Atlanta game. That we needed so badly.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, so I'm really excited. I hope to see Devontae break that record. I think he will, but you never know. There's times this year where you're like, oh, Devontae has negative 1 yard receiving.
Get him the first play of the game. Throw a nice 10-yard pass to him.
Exactly. Get him the record early.
That's what I say.
Get him the record.
They're going to be loading the box. They know they're going to think they're going to run the ball. So if we can pass it at all in that first quarter to keep them off, I think game over. I really feel that way.
Let's real quick, Dad, talk about something I didn't actually write down, but let's break it down real quick. Well, let's talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit. Been a lot of concern, a lot of bad things going around. Obviously, I've said stuff earlier this season on the podcast about him, but there's a lot of stuff happening now. I haven't said anything bad about him lately. I'm all in on him now, but or not all in, but you know what I mean. But yeah, there's been a lot of bad stuff going on lately about his passing abilities and his struggles and everything like that. With the Green Bay game, do you chalk that more up to the rust, or do you think this is kind of what he is?
I'm going to say there's a few things. The fact that he had rust a little bit, hadn't played for weeks. The concussion apparently was worse than we thought it was. So he wasn't.
True. He couldn't even study film.
Couldn't study film and anything like that weeks after it happened. So you got to give him a little go on that one. I mean, some of the scheming I didn't think was perfect. I didn't see a lot of guys running wild. I listened to a lot of different guys when they're talking, and some said there was guys running wide open, and other guys were saying that no one was open. So we know that wasn't true. But there was a couple weird passes that were like thrown at people's feet, so that wasn't good. But I think it was rust. I think they probably schemed a little bit better. The Packers do have a really good defense. It's funny because we usually want Hurts to start off fast, and he did in that game where he wasn't 0 for 5. He was 6 for 6.
Yeah.
And then he just went in a tank. So I really don't know. I'm hoping it was rust. I hope it was just a little game fatigue or something, but hopefully he can shake that off. Last time this topic came up about the Eagles passing game, we went and played Pittsburgh, and he threw for 290. So
it's true. I was just looking it up right now. It's funny how that was over a month ago. That was December 15th against Pittsburgh. 25-32 for 290 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was right after the AJ comment, the passing needs to be improved. Right. And then they all kind of said, they hate each other, and all that stuff happened.
Media went nuts.
Yes. That whole thing happened. And, it's funny. I mean, hopefully that's the case in this situation is he turns it around and kind of blows up in this game. We really need to be able to throw. I mean, people will always say, you can win by the run, die by the run. I get that, but in today's modern NFL, you can run great. That's awesome. But in the fourth quarter, sometimes you got to throw, and we are going to need him to throw. And if he does anything like he did in Pittsburgh, then I'd be half of that. He'd proud.
I do. I said it last week too. I think AJ was a little bit banged up. The knee injury came out late, which kind of made me confused because that's why we sat everybody that 1 week so that everybody could rest up. And then during the rest up week, he had a knee injury, and he's also, I think he was limited or didn't practice yesterday because of the knee. Of course, that's rest too. I get it, but we don't really know what's happening. We're not sitting there in the stadium seating, so we don't know what's happening. But I hopefully he was able to get some stimulations on there, a little bit of heat, a little bit of cold, and he's ready to go this week because we're going to need him a little more than one catch for 10 yards.
I would agree with you there. Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the injuries going into the game. So we don't have, of course, Friday's report right now because we're recording Friday today. But as of yesterday, Saquon was a full participant. He was listed as rest earlier in the week. AJ was listed as knee/rest. He didn't practice on Wednesday. He was limited yesterday. Goddard looks like he's kind of sick, coming down with a little sickness right now, so he didn't participate yesterday. And then a couple other guys, full participants, Cam Jurgens, Mailata, Pickett, Sweat, Byron Young. They were really all mostly rest except for Byron Young, who's coming back from a hamstring injury. But the biggest one on there that we're seeing limited and did not are AJ and Goddard. So really need to hopefully see that turn around. Just keep on getting that rest. Take it easy. Make sure you're moving your body a little bit, of course, but really got to take it easy to going into this game.
And I did see they did put Nakobe Dean on the IR, so unfortunately his season has come to an end. We all knew it. The rumors were there, but it's really unfortunate because he has played amazingly, and we're just heartbroken that he won't be out there.
Yeah. And I do have to apologize to all of our viewers, whoever came out and watched the last episode. We were both a little bit wrong on that injury. We were talking about, this would be better. No, this is going to be lengthier than an ACL. There's things noted on here that he could miss the entire next season with this recovery. And I was kind of stunned because I'm like, really, I don't know this injury that well, I guess. But man, I really didn't think it would take this long for him to recover. Yeah. But they're expecting him to miss. People are saying he's expecting to miss the whole next season, which really stinks. Which means even more we need to see what Trotter and Oren Burks can give to us. Yes. I mean, we got to let them play the game. I mean,
and that's why I think Trotter and Burks, he's no slouch. He played really, really well last week. He was out of position a few times, but he had the opening kickoff fumble caused, so that's a huge play. I think the reason I think Trot might play a little bit more is because Burks is more of a special team, star, if you will. Yep. And, we kind of need we don't want any of our other linebackers out there getting dinged up. So hopefully Trotter's ready to go. But, when you tear your patella, I was surprised, too, because when I tore my meniscus, they took a piece of my patella and made it into meniscus, but he shredded it. So the kneecap to the shin, that whole piece of tendon is torn, and it sucks because we were watching the play. It just doesn't look like that kind of injury on that play. He just kind of made a little tackle, but the way he was sitting there on the ground afterwards, he knew something wasn't right. And
it's true.
it looked to us like he was going to pop right up, and then they started walking him off, and he knew it was.
Well, once he's carded, you're like, okay, well, there you go.
His knee was too sloppy; it's not connected anymore. So.
Okay, let's go ahead and give you guys a reminder to like and subscribe if you enjoy what you're listening to or watching. Comment down below on YouTube your thoughts on the game, on the game, on the pod, all that sort of stuff. What your predictions are, and all that fun stuff. And don't forget to rate and subscribe wherever you're listening on your podcast.
Shout out to Mike Roman, who's always out there sending us comments, keeping us in line. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you on Sunday.
I saw him at work the other day. He came in.
Oh, nice.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about, real quick, I want to kind of break down kind of the history, just a little bit of the Eagles-Rams. So Eagles and Rams, first time they ever met was September 21st, 1937. Pretty cool. They were the Cleveland Rams, of course, back then. Cleveland Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles, and they didn't become the L.A. Rams until around 46 time. And then, of course, they were in St. Louis, and then they went back and everything. We've met up with them 3 times in the postseason. The first time was, of course, the 1949 NFL Championship, where we won 14-0. I can't remember where that game was played exactly.
In Philly, I think it was either a big rainstorm or a big snowstorm.
It was a big snowstorm.
Yeah.
We played them again in the postseason where they beat us 21-7. That was, I believe, 1989.
Oh, that's Buddy Ryan, yeah.
They beat us in a wild card game, 21-7, 1989, kind of the beginning of the end of the Buddy Ryan era at that point. And then the last time we played in the postseason was in 2002, where they defeated us 29-24. That's where they would go on to, I think, was it to play in the Super Bowl or no?
Oh, yeah.
Was that to do it?
I'm not sure if they won that one. They might have lost.
Yeah, so that was an NFC Championship game. Yeah, that was the one they went on to lose to the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
That was a tough playoff game because we actually were leading that game. We were a really young team. We had McNabb maybe a year or two into his career. And
that was 2002, so it was his second NFC Championship game in a row, and it would have been his fourth. He was drafted in '99, right?
Right.
In '99, and then 2000, and then 1, and then 2.
So but I mean, we were a very young team. We were on the rise. It was really exciting, and like I said, we had them at halftime. Westbrook maybe was their running back. I'm not sure.
No, it would have been Deuce.
Yes, Deuce. Yes, I mean we looked like we had a good chance, and then they just kind of took over in the second half. They were a really good team.
Yeah.
Greatest show on turf back then.
Yeah. So this will be the 4th time we've met in the postseason. So not a lot of meets in the postseason, especially for a conference opponent. Kind of weird that you haven't met more.
It's true,
but we'll see what goes on. This can be a big game. And last time, the 2020. I'm thinking about like our era right now. This era of Eagles football kind of started off with a Rams Super Bowl win. 2021, Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts' first year. They went to the postseason. Got destroyed, but the Rams went on to win the Super Bowl that year, and ever since then we've kind of been on the rise as well, and gone to a Super Bowl the year after, and now we're kind of back and forth and everything like that. So this Rams and Eagles team have kind of had some similar seasons over the last 4 years, injuries here and there, good seasons, bad season, all that sort of stuff. So 2 teams that are kind of similar caliber, I would say, at least in the last 4 years.
When they got their coach that they have now, back when Peterson was coach, and we played them several years in a row, and we beat them a few times. 2 or 3 seasons in a row we beat them.
So we beat
18,
them in
17, 18.
We beat them in 17. We beat them in 18. We didn't play them in 19, but we got killed in 20. Okay. They killed us in 20.
But there's been some recent history between the 2 teams and with their coach and our team. So that's awesome. Let's knock them out of the playoffs this year.
I agree. Let's talk about some other games of the weekend. So there's only 3 other games. This, to me, is kind of what I consider the best week of football all season long. It's where there's not too many games, but there's not a lot of games. There's not too little games. There's not too many games. But also the problem with like a week like last week, the wild card round, you get excited for it because you're like, oh, this is perfect. There's, you can watch every single game. You won't miss one. But the problem is the level of competition is usually so different in the first week. This week is really more, level competition. Exactly. It's the best of the best. There's enough games for there to be 2 games on a Saturday, 2 on a Sunday. It's just kind of a perfect. I think this is the best weekend of football, really, up until the Super Bowl, of course, which is just different because it's the Super Bowl. But This is just the best week of football all season long, just because there's 8 teams, and that's just a perfect amount of games. It's the perfect amount of time, and it's also the most level playing field, really, that you're going to see all season. Right. So very excited for that. But let's start off. The Saturday games are going to be Houston Texans are going to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. We talked about this before, Dad. Let's base it off percentages. What's your percentage chance that what is the percentage chance that the Texans have to beat the Chiefs?
I said 2%.
Okay. I said 30%, I think. Is that right? Did I say 30%?
Yes.
I did. I think the Texans surprised me. They limped into the playoffs. I really thought they were just, they're going to be a first-round exit. And then they destroyed the Chargers, which I just did not really expect. The defense went insane. Wow. And, I mean, that's huge for the defense to have that kind of momentum. Going into Arrowhead, I know that's where the hardship comes. They did play recently, not that long ago, week 16. So, I mean, I give the Texans a 30% chance, but I still, of course, 70% on the Chiefs. I completely expect them to win. Yeah. I'm surprised that they're favored by 8 points, really. I know the Texans have been banged up, but I just think that momentum can have a really big deal going into this game.
Yeah, I just don't see it, but I know I don't have the same vision you have, I think.
I understand. Well, here's the next game we also completely disagreed on. The Commanders going to be playing the Detroit Lions in Detroit. And what was your percentage chance? You said they had.
I said the Commanders have a 46% chance of winning the game.
Man, that's crazy. That to me is a lot. I was kind of the opposite again on this one. I mean, I still am on the same side of favoritism, of course. I think the Lions will win, but I give the Commanders only like a 15% chance of winning. I think they've completely overachieved. I think they're very good. Don't get me wrong. I think Jalen Daniels is really good. But I think at this point they're starting to go, okay, we've reached our ceiling and there's probably no more where we can go and all that sort of stuff and the NFL media and everything. I know everything can change, but I think the Lions offense is just so – you have to hang with them. And the Lions defense isn't unbelievable, but they're still good. But the Lions offense is just – I mean, if the Lions score 40, can the Commanders – you know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing about that, and this is where we get into the bye week, non-bye week. The Lions didn't play last week. Commanders did and played well. Momentum. I mean, not great, but they played well, and they're just getting better, I think, as the season goes on. And Jaden Daniels playing with house money. He's a rookie playing, out of his mind, and he can't really, he hasn't really blown any games. So, I mean, he's got a lot of confidence, and I just don't think the Lions are going to roll him like that. We'll see, but I just don't
know
think so.
Some people were saying the big thing about the Commanders, this year, their biggest kind of thing that they can gloat about or really talk about is when it's a tight game in the end, they can pull it out. They win it. The problem is, will this be a tight game? You know what I mean?
I know.
That's where the hardship comes into play. So I just think the Lions can score 40 any given week, and I just don't know if another team can score 40 to keep up with them. Except
it's funny. I believe I heard that the Commanders have won their last 5 games on the last play of the game. Now, one of them was a mismanagement by the other team. The one was our game where our quarterback was knocked out in the first quarter. Yeah. When we were winning 21-7, we were on our way to rout them. Then the last game was the Dallas game where they had the last second pass. And then last week they won with a field goal in the last second. Wow. So it's been 5 straight games that they've won in the last play of the game. Not the last minute of the game. Last play.
The last play of the game.
Against us, there was 6 seconds left.
Yeah, we had a kick return. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Interesting. Yeah, that's where it comes down to. Do you think it'll be close enough for that to happen?
But I think when you're playing with that kind of odds, eventually it's going to come around and get you in.
True.
This is the week. I just say I think that it's going to be closer than most people think. I believe Detroit's a 9-point favorite. Yeah. If I were a gambler, I would take those points and I would bet on the Commanders, especially if, say, they get the opening kickoff, go down and score. Now you're up 16 points. You got the 9 plus your 7.
Yeah.
So you're 16 ahead of the bet right there. So is Detroit going to score 16 points or they're going to score 40? So we'll see.
It's true. And then the other game that really probably everyone's most excited for, it's going to be the Sunday night game, or not even really Sunday night, 4:30 for us here, 6:30 back east. But Baltimore going into Buffalo to decide who gets to play the Chiefs. I'm just kidding. To decide who gets to play the next round. Yeah. It's going to be cold in Buffalo. It's going to be a tough game. I'm excited for this one a lot. It's hard to talk about because earlier this year the Ravens destroyed the Bills, so you're kind of like, well, I mean the Bills, the Ravens must just have their number.
History repeats itself, yeah. But
and the Ravens should win. I mean, the Ravens team is just so, we talked about it. The Ravens team is just so much better. All the Pro Bowlers, the All Pros. Whereas in the Bills, it's like, it's just Josh Allen.
It is Josh Allen.
He's got a good left tackle and a pretty good offensive line. I don't want to say they're terrible, but it's just him. It's him making great plays and throws.
I mean, it's just so unfortunate for the Bills fans because I'm pretty sure the Ravens are going to pull this one out.
Okay.
In this one, I would say 60-40 Ravens.
Yeah, I would agree there.
It's funny because I've really pulled for the Bills for years.
Yeah,
me too. Disappointed every time.
I know.
It's
similar to the Lions. I've always talked about it. The Bills and the Lions are really the similar teams to me. Like I hate to cheer against them when I have to.
Yeah.
And when the Eagles play them, of course, I'm cheering, full 100% for the Eagles. But they're both teams that I'm like, I'm not going to get mad if they succeed.
Because you want that new blood in there. You want
a
different Super Bowl champion every year if you can. Obviously, if you're not winning it, you don't want some team winning 5 in a row. So.
Well, that's how I felt with the Rams a few years ago when they were playing the Bengals. I was cheering for the Bengals wholeheartedly because I wanted a first-time Super Bowl. That was first ever. We got to see our team win our first Super Bowl. And for those of you, you're Eagles fans, you're watching. A lot of you, if you're watching right now, you did see that. But for teams that didn't see that, I get it. It's cool. They have we got 3 Super Bowls, and you're like, okay, well, that's 1992 and 84 and whatever.
Right.
It's different when you see your team's first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different. And I know there are people who say, oh, well, if you see your team's first Super Bowl in 40 years, no, it's not the same. You saw your team's first Super Bowl.
First.
It's different. Yeah. And that's what I wanted the Bengals to experience. And if their chance, if it had the chance and it wasn't against the Eagles, that's what I would want the Lions and the Bills to have to go through.
For the Rams, they had a chance to win their first in L.A., then their first in St. Louis, then their first in Cleveland. Yeah, it's a little bit different, too, when you have some consistency with a team in the same city for many, many years. So, but I know what you're saying, Baz. I'm the same way. Seeing that first Super Bowl win was amazing. You can have your 3 that you won in 1977. Good for you.
Yeah.
It was more fun winning one just 4 or 5, 6 years ago. So
I agree.
Let's win another one this year.
I agree. You got anything else?
No.
All righty. Great weekend of football ahead of us. Like I said, best weekend all season long for football. Let's go ahead and say our goodbyes. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Comment down below your prediction for the game. You can email us your questions at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. Happy birthday again to my sister Mary. We love you. Other than that, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy podcast, I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.